Buckingham Palace has confirmed Lady Susan Hussey has stepped aside from her role as the King's Lady of the Household. She had made unacceptable and deeply regrettable comments to Ngozi Fulani, who runs a charity for black victims of domestic violence. talkTV's royal editor Sarah Hewson joins me live in the studio. Hello, Sarah. So what happened? This was at a reception only last night, so this is all very recent.
Yes, this was a very significant reception at Buckingham Palace yesterday, hosted by the Queen Consort, for those working in the domestic violence sector and survivors of domestic abuse. Ngozi Fulani, who's head of the charity Sister Space and a prominent black British campaigner against domestic abuse, was at the event, and she says she was asked by an aide, not named by the palace, but has been identified as Lady Susan Hussey, where she really came from. And I don't know, if we have a look at the transcript.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it in front of me too.
Yeah. So she was asked by Lady Susan Hussey, allegedly, where are you from? She replied, Sister Space. The response was, no, where do you come from? Ngozi Fulani said, we're based in Hackney. No, what part of Africa are you from? I don't know, they didn't leave any records. Well, you must know where you're from. I spent time in France. Where are you from? Here, the UK. No, but what nationality are you? I was born here and am British. No, but where do you really come from? Where do your people come from? My people? Lady, what is this? Oh, I can see I'm going to have a challenge getting you to say where you're from. When did you first come here? And the response from Ngozi Fulani was, Lady, I'm a British national. My parents came here in the 50s. Oh, I knew we'd get there in the end. You're Caribbean.
Wow.
No, lady, I am of African heritage, Caribbean descent and British nationality. So Ngozi Fulani tweeted this transcript, which is her recollection of events this morning. And then we got, in palace terms, I would say a relatively swift response.
So would I, because it's all moving very fast. So people watching and listening should be aware this only happened last night.
This happened last night.
So this has gone quickly.
Ngozi Fulani says, as it happened to her, and what she said is that Lady Susan Hussey apparently moved to speak to her, moved her hair away to reveal her badge, and then this conversation began.
So let me just stop you there. I mean, that is an extraordinary thing, I think, for anyone to do to anyone. To walk up to someone you don't know at a very formal reception and to take hold of their hair, which is part of their anatomy, part of their body, absolutely invading their personal space, and then to move physically their hair out of the way so you can say that you can then read their name
and their organisation. Yeah.
What would be, you would imagine, if you've been the Queen's lady-in-waiting, she was the wife of Marmaduke Hussey, who was the chairman of the BBC. She's not a stranger to innumerable, extremely formal gatherings where you're introduced to strangers. If you want to know what somebody's name is, you say, what is your name? Or good evening, I hope you're having a lovely time, welcome. What's your name? And you don't take the hair and move it out of the way. I mean, who does that?
And she had served the Queen for 62 years, seen as one of her most loyal ladies in waiting. She has recently been appointed by the King as a Lady of the Household. It's an honorary role. They are there to assist with large palace events, as we saw last night. She is also the Prince of Wales's godmother. The palace statement said that they take this incident extremely seriously, that there's been an investigation immediately to establish the full details. In this instance, the palace said, unacceptable and deeply regrettable comments have been made. They say they've reached out to Ngozi Fulani on this matter. They've invited her to come and talk about it to them and discuss all elements of her experience in person if she wishes. And in the meantime, the individual concerned would like to express her profound apologies for the hurt caused and has stepped aside from her honorary role with immediate effect. All members of the household are being reminded of the diversity and inclusivity policies which they're required to uphold at all times. And Vanessa, in the last few minutes, we've also had a statement from a spokesperson for the Prince of Wales who said it was really disappointing to hear about the experiences of a guest at Buckingham Palace last night. They said racism has no place in our society. These comments were unacceptable, and it is right that the individual concerned has stepped down. But this is extremely embarrassing, difficult and uncomfortable for the palace, and the timing is really bad.
I've got to say, I mean, just listening to it with the transcript in front of me, It is unfathomable to me that somebody in that front of house role, somebody whose really entire role in court procedure over the last, 50 years or whatever it is, has been supposedly dedicated to making people feel comfortable. Because when people come to Buckingham Palace to a formal reception, most people haven't ever experienced that before. They're in an unfamiliar environment. They're wearing uncomfortable clothes. They're not sure what to do. They don't know whether you can eat or not eat, sit down or not sit down. Nobody knows what to do. Everyone's feeling ill at ease and on edge. And her job, you would think, is to make everyone, wherever you're from, however familiar you are with the environment, to feel absolutely at ease, welcome, comfortable. That's what she's for, isn't it?
And what is really hit me, reading Ngozi Fulani's exchanges on social media, and what she said afterwards, when she talks about this being a blur, she was so shocked. She said she was stunned into temporary silence. She stood at the edge of the room, sort of engaging with people, but waiting to leave. But she said, my children and grandchildren were proud, though. In my parents' time, black people were only allowed into those spaces to serve. Kind of glad my folks weren't allowed to witness this violation. I let my guard down, never again. It was such a struggle to stay in a space that you were violated in. And she said, I think it's essential to acknowledge that trauma has occurred, and being invited and then insulted has caused much damage. This, of course, is going to reignite the race row after Meghan claimed last year on her Oprah interview that a member of the royal family had raised concerns about what colour baby Archie's skin would be. It comes just before we've got Meghan and Harry's documentary expected on Netflix. We've got the book coming out. So the palace on tenterhooks about that. But also, it casts a shadow over what was a really important event for the Queen Consort, for a really important cause last night. And today is the start of the Prince and Princess of Wales's trip to Boston for the Earthshot Prize. They really want the focus to be on this environmental initiative. They don't want to be talking about Meghan and Harry, and they certainly don't want to be talking about racism within the royal household. And it is very, very difficult timing indeed. And I think that is why we've seen these very swift responses and firm responses from both Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace.
I also think this is one of those days where we don't feel in the least bit sorry for the royal family about the timing and what they would like to be printed and what they'd like people to be discussing. And we feel incredibly sorry for Ngozi Fulani and what she only went through. My goodness. Right. Thank you so much for filling us in. Let's go now to broadcaster Afia Hagan, who I'm imagining is struggling to digest this story because it doesn't bear thinking of, Afia, really, does it?
It really doesn't. But somehow I'm not entirely surprised. I mean, there's so many elements to this story. First of all, the violation Ngozi Fulani felt when her hair was touched. I mean, it's the sort of the audacity that this woman has to think she can just reach out and touch another person's hair to see her name badge. And then it's the insidious questioning. And I have had it so many times because apparently my accent doesn't fit my face. And we know that what the inference is that, okay, if are not white, you can't be British, so where are you really from? And that's essentially what she was saying. Instead of focusing on why Ngozi Fulani was there, she does some incredible work in Hackney for women of colour, for black women who are survivors of domestic violence. She provides a safe space for them, and she does some absolute incredible community work. And of course, this was a reception focusing on ending violence against women and girls. That's what he should have been asking Ngozi Fulani about, not about her heritage, not questioning where she was from, not assuming that she was from Africa. The whole thing is just disgusting, it's disturbing, and it's such a shame that instead of recognising Ngozi Fulani in this space for the incredible work that she does with Sister Space, we are now talking about the fact that she was violated in this space at the palace by this woman.